If you remember Reed Richards' big hands, Sue Storm's Kamehameha, and the Thing's fashionable attire, then you grew up playing 2005's Fantastic Four. But which one, because there were 4 completely different versions of this game released, and in this video we're going to compare each of them. Let's begin with the flagship version released for the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. We start with some pre-rendered cutscenes, and you know what, these character models don't actually look that bad. The very first section has you play as a pre-Thing Ben Grimm in space. So yes, the purpose of this first level is to try and close the hatches while getting pelted by meteors. God damn it, isn't there a boost or something? Unfortunately, Ben messes up and everybody gets exposed to radiation. The next level starts with Reed Richards waking up in the medical facility and feeling extra long. Now, one of this game's big features was the ability to play all the levels in co-op mode, but because the rest of the team aren't available yet, the game just takes one of the enemy robots and makes that the second player. And so Mr. Fantastic goes on a complete rampage around the medical ward. You know what they say about men with big hands, right? Alright, let's break out of this lab, but first, a puzzle. After all, we don't want to get too excited. This version of the game is a pretty basic 3D beat-em-up. You go from one area to another, fighting off waves of enemies. In addition to the basic melee attacks, you can also unlock a bunch of specials and combos. For example, Reed can throw out a bunch of spider mines, he can do the Beyblade, and also the old Popeye arm. Every character also has a bunch of special abilities that only they can use to progress through the levels. Unfortunately, in Reed's case, it's solving these stupid puzzles. Look, I've done one puzzle to get into the room, and what do I have here? Another puzzle. Reed, are you alright there?
She must be close by. I'll unlock the door using the main security system.
We then get to play as Johnny, who's got a bunch of fire-related melee attacks in addition to specials like the Vortex and the Fireball. And now it's time for the ultimate battle, Johnny Storm versus a wooden cabinet. And oh wow, the cabinet's doing pretty well. Luckily, Johnny is too stupid to solve puzzles, so instead he just melts the doors. We then get to play as Sue, who's able to turn invisible and use the Force. And I'm not kidding, look, the upgrade menu literally says Force Burst. Look, she's literally choking this droid. Plus, she's got a pretty mean Kamehameha. And this is also one of those old games where the characters are just gonna keep doing the talk animation until you press X.
Sue, I've been trying to find you. Are you alright?
Now, if you play this game in single player, you will be able to swap between characters, and different character pairs will have different types of assist moves. For example, here we have Sue casting a shield over Reed. And finally, we have the Thing wearing the tightest trousers known to man. No wonder he's so pissed off. As expected, Ben is all about the melee attacks, and his specials are comprised of a bunch of pro wrestling type moves. Right, so with the tutorial level done, we move to the gritty streets of New York, where stylish Ben Grimm takes on a bunch of street thugs to protect Alicia. Once again, thoughts and prayers for all the poor taxi drivers in these licensed games. You've been hit by, you've been struck by a smooth criminal. Fun fact, they actually got the entire cast of the movie to reprise their roles for this game. And rest assured, their talents are not wasted here.
Hey, you messing with my boys?
You want some more?
Boys, take care of this clown.
God, this is crazy. What started as a mission to protect Alicia has turned into the Thing destroying half of Brooklyn. This looting and rampage is brought to you by Samsung. And this being a closed-off section, these poor NPCs have nothing to do but to run around in circles. Look, this one poor guy just runs straight into the gunfire. Now, after causing untold levels of collateral damage, Ben finally rescues Alicia and engages in some top-tier flirting.
Astronaut? You're a local hero.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I gotta get out of here.
Reed and Sue then show up in their office outfits and try to get things under control by causing even more damage. Oh no, it's a civilian with a bullseye on his back. Oh come on, he's not even hanging that high up.
I'm falling!
Ah, don't be a baby, you're fine. This is followed by a section on the bridge where the entire team has to save a fire truck and a bunch more civilians.
Help! I'm trapped!
Hold on, did they put a literal child in the middle of the flames? Go save him, Johnny. Whoops, wrong button. Also, this game is probably the very first instance of seeing Sam Jackson's Nick Fury outside the comics. And speaking of things that didn't happen in the movie, like most tie-in games of this time, Fantastic Four pads out the plot quite a bit by having the entire middle section of the game comprised of the team fighting all sorts of D-tier villains from the comics. For example, we've got an entire section in Grand Central Station and then the Underground where they take on Mole Man.
You're no match for the Mole Man, fantastic freaks.
The team then go to the jungles of Mexico where they take on Diablo. And you know what, I always try to give these old game developers the benefit of the doubt, but come on, this jungle is just 2 JPEGs. Our heroes then return to New York for a museum gala, only to get sabotaged by the puppet master who kidnaps Alicia and reanimates a bunch of mummies and dinosaurs. I love how this security guard just isn't bothered that a 2,000-year-old mummy is trying to kill him. Forget about it. The Fantastic Four then take on some Doombots at Times Square. Unfortunately, all of the senseless destruction finally catches up to them and they're sent to the Vault prison by Nick Fury. Luckily, there is a big breakout that only the Fantastic Four can stop, so Fury agrees to release them, but only after they clear all the mutated insects out of his underground lab. Our heroes then travel back to the space station, which now has a pretty bad bug and plant infestation. That's right, evil plants in space. Now, despite all of these different locations and environments, the gameplay tends to stay the same. You grind through levels, taking on hordes of enemies with an occasional puzzle or QuickTime sequence. After all that, the game remembers that it's supposed to be a movie tie-in and brings Victor Von Doom back into the story. After watching Reed and Sue kiss on his Samsung monitors, the newly minted Dr. Doom sends his machines to attack the Baxter building. Hey, remember that part in the movie where the Thing jumps into a plasma cannon and spends like half an hour blasting robots?
Only Victor could have done this.
Why did I ever trust him?
He had us all fooled.
I'm being attacked!
Can't you see I'm trying to solve this puzzle? You see, the problem with these co-op characters is that they just tend to stand there and not do anything. So when you finally switch, they'll be all the way at the back of the level. Now, at a certain point, we actually get to play as regular Ben. He controls similar to the Thing, only without the special moves. And I'll say, he's still pretty hard. Look at him beat up a robot with his bare hands.
I'm gonna save my friends, one hop at a time.
Ben then gets his powers back and has a boss fight against Dr. Doom across rooftops, accompanied by some quick-time finishing moves. This is followed by a street-level boss fight where you can switch between all 4 of the heroes. And then a final boss fight against Melted Doom. And back in the day, was anyone else just too stupid to realize that you actually have to use the fire hydrant on him as Reed and not just keep spamming the finishing move? And so that's it for the campaign, but there are also a few bonus levels, like these 2 set in Latveria. And the coolest thing about these is that they actually use the comic book style of character models, which is a really nice touch. Also, there is a bonus level set in Hell, like actual hell. Look, you've got Sue fighting demons and undead corpses. So that's it for the console version, but there was also a Game Boy Advance game. This one has an isometric perspective with literal talking heads in the dialogue boxes. The gameplay is similar to the console version, you switch between the characters, each one has their own unique ability, there's plenty of hand-to-hand combat, and Reed still does puzzles. Why do I get the feeling that he's enjoying being walked on by Sue? Like, I'm pretty sure she could have just jumped over the gap. The first few levels of the GBA game are similar to the console version. We start at the lab before transitioning to the Thing rampaging around New York. I'm sorry, I know that American cars are bigger than what we have here in Europe, but this is insane. It makes the Thing look like a child. The main difference in story and structure is that this version takes place mainly in New York, with the Undead Museum sections and the Underground taking up a much bigger chunk of the game. Later, you will get a section at the Vault, followed by the space station. You do unlock new team moves as you progress, but just like the console game, it's mostly the same combat over and over again, with everybody taking a turn walking on Reed. You do also get a topless Ben mission, but this time he's accompanied by Johnny. The game ends with a simplified Dr. Doom boss battle, which finishes with all 4 heroes using their special moves to defeat him. And it's really nice of Victor to wait while each of them slowly gets into position. And that's it, the Fantastic Four defeats Dr. Doom and saves all 12 citizens of New York. Wow, fantastic. Now, there was actually a second Game Boy game from the same developers released in time for Christmas of 2000 2005 titled Fantastic Four: Flame On. And this one has you play exclusively as the Human Torch, just in case the giant Chris Evans on the cover wasn't enough of a tell. This time around, the developers decided to go for a 2D animated art style, which works much better than the pre-rendered 3D sprites in the first game. Well, apart from Reed, who has those black shark eyes for some reason. This game is an action platformer that has you go through levels, beating up bad guys and rescuing civilians, many of which are either hot nurses or blokes trapped inside giant fish bowls. Johnny controls pretty well, he can't really fly, instead he jumps really high. You also have all your standard melee and projectile attacks, plus a really nice super flame beam thing. In addition to the traditional platforming levels, you also get some minigame type stages, like the snowboarding level, an excite bike type level where you can do tricks, and a fast-paced flying shooting type level. I also like Johnny's idle animations in this one, like him cooking kebabs or using a fire extinguisher on his face. The game does use likenesses from the movie, but it mostly tells an original story which involves the Human Torch stopping the Skrull invasion. There are 5 main zones, each one broken up into several levels. We've got the Snowy Mountain Ski Retreat, the city, the tropical island jungle with the ancient temple, a secret lab in the desert where the Skrulls are keeping Galactus hostage. The point of this level is to free the big fella while dodging shots from his dick. Wow, great kids game. The final section consists of Johnny going through the Skrull mothership and wiping out everyone on board. Now, despite having the other 3 members on the cover, you only see them twice. Once in the middle of the game, and then at the end just before they head off to fight Dr. Doom, while the Skrull ship is crashing in the background. And that's why I prefer Flame On to the first game. Not only is it more fun to play, but it also has a lot more charm. And finally, we have the Java mobile game. This is a very basic platformer. Most of the time, the characters are just going to be walking towards objectives slowly. But hey, at least the Human Torch can fly in this one. Just watch out for his mortal enemy, the office sprinkler. And so there we have it, every version of 2005's Fantastic Four, the game. And as far as licensed superhero games of the time go, these are actually pretty decent. I think the most notable thing about the console version is that it laid the groundwork for Marvel Ultimate Alliance a few years later. But I still think it's a pretty fun beat-em-up game in its own right, especially if you have a friend to play with. But that's just my take. Please let me know your thoughts and memories of these games in the comments below. Which was your favorite version, your favorite character, and favorite Galactus body part. As always, thanks for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, and a big thanks to my existing patrons. If you've enjoyed this video, then please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.